What we have here is a typical house for inspection. Raised front porch. The foundation is actually block. What you see on that foundation is a poragine to give the illusion or the effect of one cohesive unit. However, as you look, you can see in the corner where the poragine has either come off or wasn't taken down far enough. I'll show you another example of that. Again, here we have the poragine, but in the corner we have some moisture, and we have an example of where the poragine has come off, exposing the original foundation. So here we are again with the poragine over top of the block foundation to give that cohesive one unit look. But as we can see, sometimes the poragine becomes compromised and it will peel back from the foundation. And what we have here in this frame is termite shelter tubes that are coming up behind the poragine up into the structure. And again, we have it over here on this side. That's the remnants of the termite shelter tube. And down below here, that again is the remnants of a termite shelter tube from a piece of poragine that fell off. Now, as innocent as this looks, as far as just two little shelter tubes, and we really have no idea what's going on back here, the net result can often be, and this is a perfect example of what we refer to as possible hidden damage, is termite damage. Now this is all termite shelter tubes, termite damage on the sheathing, okay? But as we can see, as we work our way down, it certainly doesn't get any better. Now again, none of this would be accessible to visual inspection if there were siding on the structure and if that poragine hadn't fallen off. But as you can see, we got damage there that goes probably right through to the sill plate. Here's the paper underlayment, and again, as you can see, the termite damage begins to really rear its ugly head. Now what we had in this position here, this is the front door, and there used to be a stone or a concrete platform for a porch. The moisture or the water wasn't properly, the porch wasn't properly pitched to allow the water to run off, which created a moisture footprint in this area, and the termites coming up in this area. Now it could have either come up from within the porch or within these shelter tubes that we see along the foundation. But as we can see, the wood here has been pretty compromised, and it doesn't get any better, because as we work our way up, that sheathing is completely gone. Lots of termite damage. Coming down to the door jamb, you can see here where the termites got into the door jamb. So a broader picture of what we're looking at. All that damage, termites coming up from the poragine. And also what we had here was a brick fascia. You can see where the tabs were to hold the brick in place. Those metal tabs are put there as the layers of brick or the courses of brick move up the structure. Those metal tabs hold it fast against the sheathing. And as you can see, and this would be the brick plate that the brick would lay on. And as you can see, the termites got in here real bad. That's significant termite damage. Again, this would go unnoticed because there was no visual inspection. This would be referred to as possible hidden damage. Another example of the poraging coming loose. Now this is the inside of the structure, opposite where the poraging was coming off of the foundation. And as you can see, the contractor, this was probably one of the initial areas where they found the termites, but not knowing the extent of the damage, the contractor was replacing boards. As we move to the right, which from the outside would be to the right of the front door, this is the window. This is the framing below the window, and as you can see, the evidence of termite is pretty strong in this area here. And as we move down towards the door, it's even worse. And we can follow that termite damage right on up, goes up over the door, as you can clearly see. And pretty strong presence of termite over the framing of the window. This would be the header of that window. And then as we get away from that porch area, it begins to thin out. But you'll also notice that the termites have even gotten up into the top of the framing. And we can follow that back towards the door, back to what we would think of as the epicenter, or probably the primary point of entry. And those termites even continued out on the floor, on the ceiling rafters. You can see damage on the ceiling rafter there. Certainly damage to the ceiling rafter here. Continues out probably about 5-6 feet. And then as we proceed across the door to the other side of the house, again, that termite damage pretty significant around that door framing, and down to that hole where the sheathing was so bad it just fell apart in the contractor's hands. And this area here, it even continues out to the subfloor. Now here we have hardwood floors over the subflooring, and that's certainly some termite damage going on there. Then as we continue over, and again with the termite damage, termite shelter tubes back behind that wall, clearly present. We follow that up. Again in the rafters. We'll follow that over. Here we have the window that would be, if you're facing the structure, the window to the left of the front door. Pretty strong presence of termite. Going all the way over towards the corner of the house, towards the end of the window. But you see how it thins out as we get away from that point, that likely possible point of structural entry. And that point of structural entry is probably associated with a moisture problem, as I discussed earlier, where the pitch of that porch probably allowed the water to lay against the foundation. Now here we have below the window, and again it thins out, and this window would be the window that would be above where that brick fascia would have been. But as you can see, again, we have a pretty strong presence of termite. Now all of this, keep in mind, would go undetected in an inspection because we would have a wall here, we would have a fixed wall. So we would be limited to our access, our visual access. Let's go down and take a look at the basement, see what we see down there. Now here we're going to be at the mercy of a flashlight and echo. But this is where the poraging came loose. Up in that corner there, you just start seeing a little bit of evidence. You can see the shelter tube coming up right there. Nothing in this bay. Nothing again. Nothing of notice anyway. A little bit of shelter tube on that sill plate though. If you can see it. Now I've got to go around an obstruction. What we get to see here is just such limited evidence of the termite presence. In that corner there's shelter tubes, and I hope this is coming out. Again, very limited evidence of shelter tubes. Same thing here, although you can see some scarring on the floor joist right there. And this is the area where the sheathing was pretty bad. Actually, this is the area right in here. No, it was over there. And then as you can see, if we're doing an inspection, if this was what the wood looked like over here, you wouldn't see any evidence of termite. No evidence of termites. So what are we trying to illustrate with this? Well, first of all, the importance of an inspection. Secondly, when we find something, oftentimes it's the tip of the iceberg. And thirdly, the limitations of an inspection when it comes to possible hidden damage. We just don't have access to as much of the structure as we would like because of the structural limitations: walls, ceilings, insulations, fixed floors. The termite damage in this area up above is unbelievable. If this was a fixed ceiling basement or even a suspended ceiling basement or stuck with insulation, much of this would go undetected. Now this area here is the access into the structure off of the driveway, and this is adjacent to an attached garage. And the common theme with all of this termite damage and all of this termite presence is moisture. So that's another thing that we'd like to illustrate with this, is the importance of moisture abatement. Now that everything seems to be sort of okay over here, but we had a moisture problem here, and we got termites. And we had a moisture problem over there by that front porch, that front door, those windows. We had moisture problem, and we got termites. The outlook for this house isn't real good.